Well, good evening, or it's probably morning somewhere in the world. Just thought I'd take a few minutes and talk about a subject that really dear to my heart. And as some of you know, I'm shifting a lot of things when it comes to September under this theme of sent and send. And I'll be just reconfiguring a few things. And I just wanted to start the ball rolling by talking a little bit about what that means to me. Of course, it's taken from Jesus's words, which actually are recorded in John 20 on that evening of resurrection, the first resurrection Sunday, actually. And he said, "As the Father sent me, so I send you." One of the real primary principles behind that for me is that we're all priests. You can see up there, I've written Jesus is the King of Kings. We're all kings, but also he's the great high priest. We're all priests. We're kings and priests. That's really important. And as many of you do know, one of my passions is to erase the secular sacred divide. It creeps up in so many places. And for me, the effect of that is simply this: if only 3% of Christians roughly get paid to go to church, my slightly sarcastic humor creeping in there, then 97% are not. And if those 97% in any way feel less valuable, less significant, because they're not, as it were, paid to go to church, then we have a disempowered army. And so this is a real passion of mine. I just want to unpack a few thoughts with you, just on here, as I really just build up a lot that goes on in my thinking when I hear sent and send. You see, my desire is this: that every believer would know that they're sent, and that every church and church leader would know how to send. And I'm not talking about sending necessarily to the other side of the world. I'm talking about sending down the road, to the hospital, to the school, to the office block, to the delivery job, to the restaurant. I'm talking about that. And so it's a passion of mine. So I just want to unpack just briefly four scriptures which for me are really important around this subject. And we are kings and we are priests. I haven't got it on here, but actually one of my favorite scriptures comes from Joel. And I was very privileged to be listening to Suzette Hetting some years ago teaching. And she took the verse, "There's much weeping between porch and altar." And I was so impressed by the way that she unpacked this. And she said, it's simply this: every one of us has a priestly ministry, and that's our altar. And that's where we go before God and we minister as priests. But every one of us has a kingly ministry, and that's our porch. And that's when we turn from the altar and we head on out, as it were, into the rest of the world with our assignment of establishing kingdom as kings. And so let's just have a look at the verses here. I've just kind of enlarged them a little bit there just to make it a little bit easier to see. But one of the first place that I find incredibly encouraging to read is God saying to Moses in Exodus 19:6, "You shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." Yeah, it's easy for us to think that maybe Peter said that first. We'll go there in a minute, but that was the message, and it's very clear that not all of them had the obvious priestly ministry. We know that the Levites specifically did, but we know that in crowd of people, however many, 600,000 I think, and with animals and children, something like that, it says crossed over the Red Sea. We know that they had a diverse variety of tasks and jobs and skills. And so this is very clearly, it wasn't, there'll be a tribe of priests. It was, "You shall be to me a kingdom of priests, a holy nation." It's for all of us. And we've got to get this. We really have got to get this. Some of you will have read and know of my book, Kisses from a Good God. And I preached that message about 3 months after my diagnosis for prostate cancer. It wasn't 3 months after my surgery. I had the surgery March the 21st, and I preached this message about May the 2nd. But in it, I made a statement. Surgery is not a second-class healing. It's that, you see, the surgeon, as it were, was acting. He actually was a Roman Catholic man. He was acting in a way as a priest. He's out there in the workplace, in the marketplace, and it's really important. When Luther said the priesthood of all believers, he was saying something very important. Although then it was pretty much to do with the shift from the priest and the choir ministering in a different language to the congregation. And that's why we see Luther, who wrote many hymns, and he began to write hymns in the language of the people. Very, very significant uh, point that. And sorry there, I think my screen just decided to go off and you caught a glimpse of my wonderful daughter-in-law and our new granddaughter, Jane. She's absolutely gorgeous. So Luther is really trying to get rid of that division there in the church, but there's a greater division that we need to see removed as well. So I just want to encourage you in that. I believe it's really, really important. And so we're to be a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. Let's have a look then at, if I can get this to, no, it's not playing with me. Oh, there we go. Well, we've got, you will be called the priests of the Lord in Isaiah chapter 61 and verse 6. You'll be called the priests of the Lord, actually ministers of our King as well. It's an interesting phrase there. And what's fascinating to me there, the context, which is really important and really beautiful, is that we see in the beginning of that chapter, the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me. That's really the minister, as it were, for the sake of this, the spiritual leader in that scenario. And of course, I'm not saying with the priesthood of all believers that there aren't people who are to be the spiritual leader of a group of people, but their job is to equip everybody to be priests. And what we have here is the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon that spiritual leader, and he sets the captives free, brings freedom to prisoners, sight to the blind, declares this is the favorable year of our God. And then what we see, that whole great exchange of emotions, beauty for ashes, oil for mourning. And then we see that it's those that were set free who raise up the former devastations, rebuild the ruined cities. And it's them that this verse here is about when it says they will be called priests. And it's just really important. Then a beautiful phrase after that, it says, instead of shame, a double portion. And for me, that's always meant to me, instead of feeling less valuable, less significant, a double portion. And so we see Moses saying this, we say Isaiah saying this, and then of course we see Peter saying this. I think that one will just enlarge where it is positioned on my iPad. We see Peter saying a royal priesthood, a holy nation, exactly the same words there in 1 Peter 2:9. We see it being said there by Peter. Really, really important. And of course, so much more we could say about that, but it's emphasized. I want to just emphasize it's there in the Old Testament, it's there in the New Testament. This has huge implications for us all. Here's the thing, many of us are praying for a revival. Yeah, we want to see a revival, but we're also praying that revival becomes a reformation. Reformation will only happen when we have people that are sent, who know that they're priests in every sphere of influence in our world. That's when reformation will happen. It will be, motivated, stirred up. People will be equipped within the church, but they'll be sent out from the church to bring the reformation. And I'm believing for that. I'm believing indeed. Just like my doctor friend who, when he heard me say surgery is not a second-class healing, he said, this is the most important message I've heard in my medical career. And up until then, he often felt second class. He'd go to church thinking, the real ministers are going to share the miracles that happen in the healing room, and yet he would save 70, 80 people's lives every year. And then finally, where we see it as well is in Revelation 5:10, and thou hast made them to be a kingdom of priests to our God. Really, all I just want to emphasize in this, just short video is this: we need to see the erasing of the secular sacred divide, and it's really, really important as we see some of the biggest shifts, I believe, in emphasis in the church, and I teach about them a lot, going from pastoral first to apostolic first, which is gathering to sending. As we move from church mindset first to kingdom mindset, which of course includes the church, then we are back to sending people out. And we see another transition, which is the big church first mindset to big people first. And of course, you may still get a big church, but big people change cities. Big people introduce legislation. Big people bring reformation into every sphere of influence. And so it's really important that we see that. And of course, one of the other big transitions is from control first to empowering first. Another subject which I'll unpack another time. Why is that so important? Well, it's because when you're sending apostolic to influence kingdom, and you're raising up big people, they need to be empowered. And actually, that's all wrapped up with sonship and daughtership, because security of identity is absolutely vital as we see these shifts. So I just want to encourage every one of you, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you go, that you are a priest of the Lord, and you're a sent one. You've been sent, and I put it this way: you've been sent from heaven, and then through the church, I would say that we are sent again to expand the influence of the King everywhere we go. So thanks for jumping on and joining me. Send and send. Keep your eyes open for this. I will be launching a number of things. You want to sign up for my newsletter? I'm going to get a bunch more things focused. The subscription will be revised. My website's going to be revised. There's a book being launched, published towards the end of September, about the 19th, I hope. People who subscribe, I'm also launching a 90-day devotional, which is all about things people do. So a number of things that are going on: website, subscription, the book, and also in September there's going to be a 3-night free online conference where I'm going to unpack some of these principles. So thanks for joining me. The next time I jump on here, I'm going to start a 4-part series based on a message that many of you know. He wastes nothing, he gets you ready. But I've been preaching it a lot more just lately, and I can feel something on it. So I'm going to break it into 4 parts. He wastes nothing, he gets you ready. He redeems the lows, he repeats the highs or the victories of our lives, and he wants us to learn to believe our story. And those are all related to being the sent one. So thanks for joining me. Bless you. And I want you to know, whatever you do, wherever you go, when you get there tomorrow morning, you've been sent. Jesus said, as the Father sent me, so I send you.